There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Thank you. Please be seated. Order. Honorable members, I have been informed that the Whipare has agreed that there will not be any notices of motions or motions without notice. Before I proceed, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome the President to this House, and I will forthwith proceed to invite the President to respond to the questions. Honorable President, the first question on our question paper is a question by the Honorable B.G. Ntebe of the Northwest. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Honorable President, please take your seat. Honorable Mokwele, you are rising.
Thank you, Chair. I'm rising on a point of order, Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm humbly requesting to your honorable self that you must not allow Mr. Zuma, the President of the ANC, to address this August House. Bearing in mind that Mr. Zuma has violated his oath of office as the President of the country. Mr. Zuma lied to the August House of the National Assembly.
Honorable Mokwele.
Again, Mr. Zuma.
Honorable Mokwele,
Yes, sir.
You rose on a point of order, not
Yes.
to make a speech. Can you please get to the point?
The rules allow me, before I speak, ma'am, to deliberate on what I want to say.
The rules also allow me to make a determination.
But before you come to that, Honorable Chair, you must allow me to speak so that you can hear. I'm getting to the point.
Yes.
That as the August House, as this House is the upper house of Parliament, I'm requesting to your kind self that we don't repeat the same mistake that the NA has done by allowing Mr. Zuma to address the honorable members of Parliament, as he is not honorable enough. So I'm requesting to your kind self, ma'am, knowing that you have that integrity to rule on this matter, rule on the favor of South Africans, not rule on the favor of Mr. Zuma and the ANC. I'm kindly requesting you, ma'am. Thank you.
Please take your seat. Honorable Mokwele, I do think that the rules of this House, the protocols, the precedents, are all in our minds as we listen to you. The Honorable President of the Republic has addressed this House numerously. The Honorable President of this country, at his instance, set a precedence in this country of taking questions and addressing this House. He is here again at a date agreed to by this House on a program. Please take your seat, Honorable Vauda. I'm addressing a member of your party on a point of order. And you are right. I am within my rights and within the duty of this House, which has adopted a program which says that the President responds to questions in this House today. The violation of the oath of duty, this House does not deal with that. This House, if there is a House that has to deal with that, is the House that has been given constitutional powers to deal with that. It is not this House. The Honorable Zuma will therefore continue to respond. You are on a point of order again. I hope it is not spurious.
Yes, ma'am. Having said what I've said, Honorable Chair, having said what I've said, it is within the Constitution that the President, on his own capacity, may come to the House. I'm just appealing to you, Honorable Chair, that we must not repeat, we must not act illegally as the upper house of Parliament. We must not allow, there's no way in the Constitution that says, there's no way in the Constitution that says that Mr. Zuma is obliged to come to this House. So I'm appealing to you, ma'am. Mr. Zuma is not honorable enough. He cannot address honorable members. Hence, he has violated the oath of office that he presided over. I'm appealing to you. Let us not repeat what the NA did. Let us not do what the NA did. I'm appealing to you, ma'am, that you exercise your integrity. I know you are a very principled person. Just exercise that principle that you are having.
Take your seat. Honorable member, you made that point. You have repeated yourself. You have made the appeal. I am rejecting that appeal. The Honorable President will proceed as per the program of this House to respond to questions in this House. Honorable Vauda.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, in as much as we understand how you have made your verdict and how you have come to the conclusions, we are of the opinion that the Honorable Jacob Zuma is not competent enough to be president of this country. And it is on those grounds that we make the appeal to you to make a ruling that is different from that was passed in the House of the National Assembly House.
Thank you, Honorable Vauda. You are repeating what your colleague has said. I have already ruled in this instance. Please take your seat.
We are emphasizing the point.
Don't emphasize. I have made my ruling. Please take your seat.
We are making an urgent appeal to you that
Honorable
in the
Vauda,
light of issues
take your
that
seat.
have taken place. Honorable Chair, there are a number of issues that have taken place in recent years that have indicated very clearly. These issues...
Cut that mic. Honorable Vauda, Honorable Mukweli, take your seat. I have ruled on this point. I have ruled on this point. I am not going to repeat a ruling. Honorable Mukweli, please take your seat. Honorable Mukweli, please take your seat. Please take your seat or you force me to ask you to leave this House. Honorable Mukweli, take your seat. We are all here. Please take your seat. He does have the right. Sit down, take your seat. Take your seat. Take your seat, Dr. Vauda. Take your seat. Honorable members, I have made a ruling. I gave the Honorable Mukweli the opportunity to make her point of order. I gave her a second point and she repeated this same point of order. I made a ruling. Dr. Vauda rose on the same point of order. I am not going to entertain any other point of order on this same matter. If the honorable members feel, order members, if you are on this point of order, Mr. Chabagu, I will not take your hand. If you are on this point of order, I will not take your hand. Honorable Mukweli, please leave the House. On the basis that, one, you are Please leave this house. You are holding the business of the house to ransom. Are you refusing to leave this house? The usher of the Black Rod, please escort that member out of this house. Order, members. Honorable Mtimunya, order. Thank you very much. I now wish, I gave you the opportunity. I will now call on the Parliamentary Protection Unit to come and assist you out of this house. Please leave the house. Honorable Vauda, it is a different point of order that you are raising. It is different, I will hear it.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, you've asked us to leave the House. Please allow us an opportunity to at least explain.
Order, order, I can't hear the member.
Please
Honorable Vauda.
Please allow us the opportunity at least to explain our position. You are asking us to leave before we have explained our position.
Honorable Vauda, you have been given an opportunity. You spoke after a repetition of the same request by the Honorable Mukwili, which I refused. You came in, you put your facts. I then ruled to say no. If you want to put more facts, then I'm afraid I cannot allow that space.
Okay, then, Honorable Chair, allow us to say that we do not recognize the legitimacy of the President of Jacob Zuma as President of this country, and as such, it leaves us no choice but to leave this House. And we will leave this House on those grounds.
Order! You are within your right, Dr. Vauda, to leave this House. It is your choice. You are free to leave this House. But if you do so orderly, because we want to start with the business of the day. Please leave, Dr. Vauda. You said you want to leave. Mr. Chabaku?
Chairperson, with due respect,
Order, members.
please allow us to say our sayings.
Order,
And
members.
not throw us out one by one. Otherwise, we are not going to listen to the president. We are
Order.
not going to listen to him because
Order. Order.
of the things that he has done. Hey, I'm not speaking to you. Just have a look. At
Ntate
this
Mohapi.
thing.
Order. Honorable Chabangui, can I respond to you?
Yes, ma'am.
You are fairly new in the House and you are within your rights to want to be listened to. Your leader of the party in the House has made order. 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 Honorable Koni, will you respect this House? You will respect this House.
I'm older than you.
Ntate,
Hey, I'm older than
Ntate
you.
Mohapi, Honorable Mohapi, Honorable Chabangu, the leader of the EFF in this House has put a case. If the EFF says it will make repeated motions on the same issue so that this House does not conclude its business, then they will not come right today, because this House will start and finish its business of the day. So no amount of filibustering will help you today.
Help me to do
That motion, that point of order has been made 3 times already. Twice by your leader. The second person to make it was Dr. Vauda. You are either going to participate in terms of the rules, or you risk being asked to leave this House, because we are going to start and finish the business of this House.
You request
The
me to leave
argument
House.
that you are representing the people is that all these other people who are sitting here are also public representatives representing the people. People want to hear the president responding to the questions put by different members of this House. And that business will continue. So take your seat. Take your seat.
But you cannot say I'm new, therefore I must not debate in the House. I'm new. Yes. What do you mean?
I will not take that dialogue, Ntate Mohapi.
Yeah, but you allow Mohapi to undermine me. You are again.
Ntate Chabangu, please take your seat. Ntate Chabangu, take your seat.
If you allow the president to come and speak,
Ntate Chabangu, you are instructed to take your seat.
if you allow the president
Esha
to
of the
come
Black
and
Rod,
speak,
assist that member out of this House. I am addressing this member. I'll come to you. Okay. Parliamentary Protection Services, please assist the member. Order. Order. Honorable Kony, you are on the floor.
Man, relax. This is not your household. Thank you, Chairperson.
Yes, ma'am.
Chair, how many damage will this man be allowed to do?
Is that
This
order?
man, this sitting there,
Order,
is
order.
a murderer.
Order.
Look, he's laughing. This sitting there,
Order.
is a thief.
Honorable,
This man
Honorable
sitting
Kony,
there, is a rapist.
that is
Kwesi
not a
is
point
dead
of
today
order.
because of this man.
Honorable
This
Kony,
man is a thief. This man,
Kony, take your seat.
I'm not taking any seat. This man
Okay.
is a
Esha
thief.
of the Black Rod.
He's a murderer.
Honorable Hatting, your hand is up. I'm dealing with this first. She's refusing. Parliamentary Protection Services to the assistance. Hey! Order. Honorable members, it does not help the House when there is disruption for you all to be screeching, not screaming, on the top of your voices. Does not help us. Because all of you then look like, you know, you are part of it. The Honorable Hatting, I recognize you.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I must first express my appreciation for your firmness in dealing with this matter. But I am very, very concerned. What I've seen just now, and this is a gun-free zone, I've seen members, people from outside coming into this House wearing firearms. Certainly, we cannot tolerate that. Can I ask your ruling on that, please, and get an assurance that no firearms will be brought into this chamber anymore, specifically not today?
Honorable Hatting, I do not know of any person in this chamber who is wearing a gun. You saw. Honorable Hatting, the matter you are raising is serious. We will take it up. But I am quite sure it is a point that is validly must be taken up. And I also do know that Honorable Hatting is raising this because he knows I took a stand at a particular province on this matter. I will attend to that matter. As much as possible, honorable members, we do not want guns in this chamber. So we will ensure that it does not happen again. Can I then have this House back in order? Honorable Mahuma Pelu, you had your hand up.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I just wanted to say that as the House here as a collective, we must respect the Chair. And it is our responsibility to make sure that we make the work of the Chair much easier. Because we are a collective that is representing communities here, adults enough, and we can't come here and misbehave. So I wanted to say, Chair, that you are in total control of this House, and I think you are in order. Nobody must say you are out of order, because so far you have been following the rules. You have been giving everybody the opportunity to speak, and you only acted when it was necessary to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Smith, can we proceed with the business of the day after we hear you out?
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Chairperson, I am highly disturbed by members of the ANC that found it very amusing and laughing while violence is taking place within this House. And we want to call this an honourable House. And that is really, it is
Your point is
concerning,
taken,
Honourable
sir.
Chair.
Can we proceed? Honourable Nyambi, can we proceed? Thank you very much. Order, members. The two Gauteng members, Julius, I do appreciate that you like your province very much, but can we have a National Council of Provinces meeting now? Thank you very much. Honourable President, you are on question 1. Honourable Nyambi, what is it?
With utmost respect, Chair, I am humbly requesting that for convenience sake, if we can allow the President to use the podium instead of the peg being on our side.
For convenience sake, I have given that very much thought. I think it is very convenient for the President to address us where he is. I do know that members want to see his face, but I think let's allow the President to address us from where he is. President, please proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair of the NCOP and members. Credit rating agencies assess the ability of debtors to pay back the money they owe. Depending on their assessment, they then issue
credit ratings for sovereign borrowers, such as our government. Since most countries depend on international investors and access to international capital markets, good credit ratings are very important. They determine the cost of borrowing money, and give an indication to international investors whether to invest in a country or not. Our government approaches economic policy, including fiscal policy, prudently. It always seeks to ensure that there is macroeconomic stability and public finances are sustainable. There is no doubt that adhering to this approach has helped preserve South Africa's credit rating. We take the agencies and their work very seriously, because it is also another mechanism through which governments take stock of the work they do and ensure continuous improvements in governance. While ratings agencies are an important feature on the world economy, they do not necessarily impact on agreements between countries. I thank you.
Thank you, President. The Honorable Ntebe.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair, and my appreciation to the President for the response. You said in your response, Honorable President, you spoke about investor confidence that is necessary and can be drawn from the explanation that you gave, but also our macroeconomic policy, which allows us to exercise fiscal prudence in terms of the discipline that is necessary to avert possibilities that might come out of credit ratings. While we appreciate, Honorable President, while we wait with greatest anticipation the establishment of the BRICS rating agency, please explain the rationale behind such a noble idea, and what is, if any, the benefit of developing countries and BRICS member states in terms of the rating agencies that might come in the near future. Thanks, President.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Well, the BRICS countries have decided to discuss this matter of ratings and have felt it is necessary to have their own agency in terms of rating, partly because the manner in which the rating agencies have operated so far leaves some concern to particularly developing countries and the members of BRICS. You will appreciate that the concentration of rating doesn't seem to be well balanced according to the view of BRICS. For an example, there is less said in countries that are faced since the global economic meltdown, that are faced with difficulties. We don't hear all the time the ratings being made on them. You know, for an example, that the entire Europe has been in difficulties for a long time. There are no rating agencies that visit those countries from time to time to rate them. But if the developing countries have difficulties, they come rate, make public statements continuously. Developing country, but with big economy like China, which is the second biggest economy in the globe, there's been more said about China than other big countries. Leaving aside the fact that the views of the economists in the world are not exactly the same. And there may be people who have a particular school of economic thinking who are part of rating agencies. But there may be other people who think differently. And that is what has made the BRICS countries, particularly because if you look at the membership of BRICS, it is the countries that are very prominent in the place where they are. And therefore they think for safety's sake and also for assuring that indeed the kind of elements that are looked at by the rating agencies are correct. They therefore think they need a rating agency that will be moving from the understanding and the philosophy of these countries as to how the economy should be. That's precisely the reason why they have taken a decision that they could rate themselves and perhaps rate others as well, in addition, so that a complete balanced view is indeed taken into account when the ratings are made. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Julius, the Honorable.
Thank you, Chairperson. I appreciate the fact that the President is actually downgrading rating agencies themselves. And I think the BRICS rating agencies are far from credibility. So let's focus on the present, Mr. President. Institutional strength, which largely influences sovereign ratings, and the stability of a country are dependent on its leaders' ability to lead a country transparently and with accountability. But this, of course, Mr. President, has not been the case, given that your administration has been marred by nothing but controversy and scandals. SA faces the risk of junk status if the status quo continues. And in order to avert this, I would like to know whether you would be willing to commit to withdrawing your application seeking to interdict the release of the state capture report, because that will certainly help us averting a junk status. Thank you.
Mr. President, you are within your rights to respond to this question. At the tail end of this question, the Honorable Julius introduces a completely new question. But the President is within his right.
Yes, Honorable Chair, it is within my right, even if the question is not necessarily relevant. But I think it's important for me to tell the Honorable Member that as a citizen of this country, I have a right, a legal right, to exercise my rights. And this is what I've done in terms of the Public Protector's report. I interdicted it because she was going to issue a report, having not talked to me or asked me questions. And it is within my right. It is, in fact, within the act of the Public Protector that those who are to be questioned, they have a right to do what I've done. There's nothing wrong. It has nothing to do with ratings. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Honorable members, we move to the second question. The second question, Mr. President, is a question raised by the Honorable Faber. Question number 2.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The economic stability of the country is paramount, given that we are faced by three critical challenges of unemployment, poverty, and inequality. We need economic stability and inclusive growth to enable us to respond to these challenges. The National Development Plan outlines the goals we want to achieve, which will enable us to improve the living conditions of our people. We are currently working together with business and labor to stabilize the economy and to reignite growth. The recent events regarding allegations and lately charges preferred by the National Prosecuting Authority against the Minister of Finance are a concern to all of us, including the investor community. As Cabinet, we have expressed our full support of the Minister while respecting the independence of law enforcement and prosecution authority. The Minister has also received public support from various stakeholders in the country since the announcement of the charges, including business, religious leaders, and community organizations. The support is being expressed because of the belief in the rule of law and in the fact that the Minister has not been found guilty of any crime. He is innocent until found guilty by a competent court of law, like all citizens. I thank you.
Thank you, President. The Honorable Faber.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. President, when did you learn of Sean Abrams' intention to charge Pravin Gordon? And was this discussed with Mr. Abrams' visit to Luthuli House for a meeting with yourself and ministers on the 10th October, the day before charging the Minister of Finance?
Again, Mr. President, you are within your rights. Mr. Faber, your follow-up question is not arising from the response, but the President is within his rights. It is not. Please, Mr. President.
Honorable Chair, firstly, the matter of the Minister, I think the member should appreciate, is before court. I don't think we could be discussing details of that matter when it is within court. And I must also say, the matter was never discussed with Abrams, with the President, never, 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 never. And the meeting that the honorable member is referring to, again, I'm sure he's keen to know the details. That meeting was a meeting between the President and the security cluster, discussing a totally different matter, not the matter of any arrest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The current situation with regards to the prosecution of the Finance Minister, what interventions have you initiated to avert a downgrade by a ratings agency, Mr. President?
Sorry, I don't know whether I got the question clear.
Please repeat yourself.
The current situation with regards to the prosecution of the Finance Minister, what interventions have the President made to avert a downgrade by rating agencies.
Mr. President.
Honorable Chair, this country adheres to the Constitution and the law, the rule of law. No individual is given a right within that to interfere with independent processes and decisions of independent institutions. I think if this president was to interfere in any matter, either of Chapter 9 institutions or other institutions, then it would be closer to a banana republic. No intervention you can make when you don't know what is happening. Once the law enforcement agencies act and take matters to court, only the court can look and judge on that matter. No individual can come and intervene. I don't know whether the member is suggesting that I should be intervening whenever there's an arrest. I don't know.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Mohai, the Honorable.
Thanks very much, Honorable Chair. And also thanks for the President to once more reassure the supremacy of the rule of law, which we proclaim, amongst others, as the Republic of South Africa. Honorable Chair, the President has said earlier that the stability of the South African economy needs to be understood within the broader global economic context. Will the Honorable President agree that since 2008 global economic downturn, South Africa's economy has been resilient largely because of sound policies that has been put in place? And also, will the President agree that it is the task of a democratic government to strengthen its capacity to ensure the implementation of the NDP? Thanks, Honorable Chair.
The Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Yes, definitely I will agree with the Honorable Member that ever since the economic meltdown, the policies of our government have helped to cushion that blow as it made many countries in the world go through difficulties. We have succeeded to do so because there are clear policies that we have followed. We've been very prudent in the manner in which we implemented those policies. And indeed, we were able to have our economy, particularly during the first wave, coming out strong, very resilient. The second wave, because the second wave came, also we have been resilient, and we have taken all the right decisions. You will recall that at a given time when everyone in the world was saying there is no growth, there is no inclusive growth, we sat down and worked out what are the aspects of the economy that will make this economy be more resilient and move forward. That's when we emerged with 9-point plan as very specific areas to focus on, and therefore focus our resources as well. So yes, we have succeeded, I think, because we have correct policies. And indeed, the economic growth has affected all countries. There's no country that has never been affected. It's not a South African issue. It's an issue, as I was saying earlier, Europe was actually more affected than any other region in the world. So all countries had to show they are resilient, and South Africa has been one of them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The Honorable Engelbrecht, the Honorable Mikilaikis.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, my question pertains to the President, I beg your pardon, the President's reply to Honorable Smith's follow-up question, if I may proceed. Honorable President, in your own words, you just said in reply to Honorable Smith that it would be improper for you to interfere with the work of the rating agencies, and I quote, as well as the Chapter 9 institutions. Again, my question would then be to you, if in your own words it would be improper to interfere with the work of the rating agencies and Chapter 9 institutions, why are you then trying to prevent the release of the state capture report? Thank you.
The Honorable the President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'm not sure whether when I answered the question, the member was out of the House. I answered the question very clearly. If he was in the House, I have answered that question. Thank you.
Thank you. We proceed to the third question. It's the question posed by the Honorable Motla Shuping. It's question number 3, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. In 2010, I commissioned a review of all state-owned entities in South Africa through the Presidential Review Committee on State-Owned Entities, whose report was accepted by Cabinet in 2013. Among other things, the committee recommended that an interministerial committee on SOE reforms should be established as a precursor to the formation of the SOE Council of Ministers. In 2015, I established the IMC on SOE reforms chaired by Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa. The IMC has recommended the setting up of the SOE Council to be chaired by the President. The Council has not been established yet. This was based on the recent successes in coordinating the work of various spheres of government. An example is our infrastructure program, which is coordinated through the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission. The PICC brings together ministers, premiers, and executive mayors. This central coordination brought about by the PICC has improved our work and has enabled quicker consultation and decision-making and more efficient monitoring of progress. Government continues to work hard to find solutions to ensure that the SOEs function more efficiently and effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Motla Shuping.
No, thanks, Chair. Thanks, President, for the comprehensive answer that you have given. I have been delighted by the fact I'm not deployed. I've been delighted by the fact that even before, I say I'm delighted that before even I make my follow-up questions, I saw many hands going up. It is very encouraging. The SOEs, President, play a crucial role in providing economic infrastructure. They provide vital services and products as well as providing employment and capacity building. Successful SOEs will put South Africa at a competitive advantage. Given the underperformance of many SOEs, radical transformation could be the way to improve SOEs' performance. Improving the corporate governance of SOEs will go a long way to help roll out the National Development Plan. Despite my question is, Honorable Hutton, despite all
You are
misconceptions.
addressing me, not Honorable Hatton.
No, thanks. I withdraw that, Chair. Despite all misconceptions, President, that have been created in terms of government bailing out, the primary function of these entities is to provide quality services, efficient and effective services to the people. Now, my question is that, is it happening? Is it biased towards rural areas, in particular the Northwest Province, in its rural nature? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The Honorable President.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Order.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Of course, the task of government is to ensure that the development, the economic activities take place everywhere in the country. There has been, I think, historically, and it is a usual thing that developments tend to concentrate in urban areas. We have been very conscious of that fact, and that's why we established a department, which we call the Rural Development, because we wanted specifically that the rural areas must not be left behind. And therefore, the work that is going to be done by these SOEs will certainly cover the rural areas. And that is guaranteed. In fact, we've been discussing that issue very extensively as to what can we do more to pay attention to the rural areas so that they are not left behind. So that is uppermost in the mind of government. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Honorable Smith.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Mr. President, which of the recommendations of the Presidential Review Committee on State-Owned Enterprises has your government already implemented?
Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. There are quite a number. This is one of them, the one I'm talking about. As I said, it comes from the recommendation of the committee that I had set up. Is actually an example of what we are doing. There are many others. Others have not necessarily been implemented. We are working on them, partly because this particular committee is very crucial to ensure that a number of those recommendations are implemented. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Dabaskachne.
President, you see, this is one of the implementations that has been, of the recommendations that has been implemented. I just want to read from the report the 5 points of recommendation, and I don't see any of these on infrastructure and what you've mentioned. Government should develop a long-term strategy for state-owned enterprises, including the promulgation of a single SOE Act that should apply to the SOE across government as well. There should be a standardization of appointment and remuneration processes for all SOEs, as well as a standardization of development and delivery goals. The role of SOEs in economic transformation, especially with respect to procurement deals, should be enhanced. Procurement should actually be the essence of restructuring, because this is where all the fraud and things are going on. There should be a re-examination of the finances of SOEs to strike a better balance between the equity and debt financing. And there should be a strengthening of the political accountability of ministers over SOEs so as to ensure better line function management. So, President, can you give us a clear indication what of these recommendations, the one that you referred to, most probably referred to the ministers on the SOEs, but what of the rest has been implemented?
Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. In my answer, I said others have not yet been. We are working on them. Part of the need for this council is precisely to deal with those matters, because the council is going to coordinate and ensure that the manner in which these are implemented They are coordinated, they are done by the specific entities, and this council will be in charge to look at all of them to ensure that those kind of recommendations are done in a coordinated fashion. Because if you were to deal with them now, you will still be sending it to specific entities in silos. That's why this had become very important to be made, so that those recommendations are implemented as recommended. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Esak.
Chairperson, thank you for the opportunity. Honorable President, I'll go easy. South Africa has more than 700 non-strategic state-owned companies. One of the roles of state-owned companies is, of course, to contribute to the economy. Since the beginning of the 5th Parliament, Mr. President, you referred in your State of the Nation address that state-owned companies will be evaluated and, of course, realigned in light of the projection of less than 1% economic growth rate for the economy. When will you then, Honorable President, release a report on the implementation of this evaluation and realignment? Thank you, Chairperson.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Those are part of the recommendations that I talked about. Who must evaluate these SOEs? Can they evaluate themselves? I don't think so. Who must then evaluate them? The reason why this council, in the process of looking at how to implement all of this, has become an important recommendation is because it is a council that can sit and evaluate all of them. Because the committee that evaluated at the time, that reported on all of them. You need a body that can sit and evaluate. This is a council that's going to do the proper evaluation. That's precisely the point, and I'm repeating this, but I'd answered the question, but I thought the honorable member deserves a further emphasis and clarification. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. We move on to the 4th question, and that is the question posed by the Honorable Kaula. Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I want to emphasize first and foremost that the decision to relocate Parliament from Cape Town to Pretoria lies squarely within the ambit of Parliament. It is not a matter for the executive to decide upon. We have, however, expressed our views on the matter given the advantages we think will accrue to the fiscus. In preparations for engagement with Parliament, the Department of Public Works has tasked by Cabinet to further investigate the merits of relocation. An interdepartmental task team comprising government departments that contribute to the optimal functioning of Parliament was also constituted. The task team comprises a few departments with specific tasks. The National Treasury is looking at the financial and budgetary implications. The Department of Justice and Constitutional development is focusing on the legislative requirements and processes. The Department of Public Service and Administration is looking into the administrative and human capital implications. The Department of Transport looks at the logistics and transport implications. The South African Police Service is looking into the security and safety implications, while the Department of Labor is investigating the human resource implications. Importantly, the Department of Public Works, as a custodian of public infrastructure and an accommodation service department to Parliament, is also engaging with Parliament on a review of previous needs analysis and the space audits conducted in 2006 and 2007. Also being looked at are the needs of Parliament, including the space requirements for residential accommodation for members of Parliament, parliamentary office bearers, and leaders, as well as administrative support staff. An examination of the cost of upgrading the existing Parliament precincts to meet the current space requirements and those of constructing a new Parliament precincts in Pretoria is also being done. Government is also examining the benefits and challenges that are likely to follow from the change of the seat of Parliament. This is informed by preliminary socio-economic impact studies done by the Department of Public Works as part of normal feasibility studies done in considering state accommodation options. The preliminary analysis continues to point to the same conclusions derived from previous studies in 1995, 1997, and 2011. These indicated that in the long term, the cost to relocate the legislative authority from Cape Town to Pretoria will be significantly less than maintaining the status quo. The negative impact includes the potential loss of income for the city of Cape Town and potential job losses in the finance and business sectors, providing services to Parliament. There are also indications that should the relocation to Pretoria be given effect, a significant portion of the redundant state-owned accommodation serving the parliamentary function could be appropriately by accommodating various other government departments. Let me reiterate again that the seat of the legislature is a call for Parliament to make. However, the executive will continue to provide support and information to persuade Parliament to consider the big expenditure item of maintaining two capitals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Kaula.
Ngiyathokoza sihlalo hloniphekile, ngiyathokoza ngamalala. Hlonishwa mongameli. I wonder that so much has been done already by the executive, Honorable Chairperson. And I do want to confess, Ngamalala, neither the Speaker of the National Assembly nor the Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces have taken us into confidence and debates on the matters we have raised today. It's news to us. It's news to this House. It's news to South Africa. It's just things that are happening there in the executive. And I'm holding the President to his opening and closing statements to say it rests with Parliament. And Parliament doesn't know, but already the executive has done so much. Be that as it may, there are these investigations that have been done previously. The one I'll refer to is by the former President Mandela in 1997, a report of which was never released to the country. We would like to know what that report was saying on this issue, Honorable President. And I don't want to say, because the President and the Executive are advancing the arguments of cost-cutting and saving measures on these issues, would it not be appropriate and logical to do first things first, Honorable President? For example, rooting out corruption, which according to the Auditor General is costing South Africa no less than 34 billion a year. For example, minimizing the bloated cabinet under the current president, which the president is also complaining about when he kickstarts these issues. For example, that when the ministers buy vehicles, they don't spend extraordinarily. All these are logical issues which talk to cost cutting, and they are at a reachable distance. Now we are talking about things that are so far-fetched from us. Will it not have been convincing in this debate, Honorable President, to say, let's start with the first things? And lastly, Honorable Chairperson, also consider the competing needs, socially, economically, and otherwise of our country. Will the President say this would have been a priority in the needs of the country, put at the table, all of them together? Thank you, Chairperson.
You are usually very good with management of time. You have long overstepped. Honorable President, Honorable Kaula has raised 3 issues. The last 2, he also knows he smuggled in. Those are issues which you may or you may not deal with.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. It's not very often that I have an opportunity to interact with your members, and I'm sure they love hearing me, and it's no problem at all. The issue here is not about every other issue that exists in the country. It's about the seat of Parliament. The executive, which really does more a movement, has done a research on this. The cost is huge and big, and you can calculate it clearly. If, for an example, you look at what it's doing, each and every executive member has to have 2 houses, 2 cars, many things you can count, because we've got 2 capitals. But if we're staying in one place, there'll be 1 car, 1 house. It also time-consuming. The executive has to be moving up and down, not staying in one place and doing the government work. There's been details, very scientifically investigated, and there is one conclusion only, that we need a particular seat of government. There are many other things that have been looked at. The centrality of Pretoria or Tshwane, fact that as members of parliament, you are not able to engage the total society, even on the bills that you make open for the public to discuss, because many poor people cannot travel to Cape Town. It's very far. It's not in the center of the country. It will therefore help members of parliament to interact with the population more at ease, quicker, and therefore not just have those who have the means only, who have the time to participate because they can fly to Cape Town and have places, etc., etc. So there are many things that have been looked at. The issue of corruption, we look at it all the time, it's discussed all the time. And we are fighting corruption all the time. So it's not an issue that we thought we should come and deal with it as a special issue like shifting of parliament. In fact, as you correctly said, Honorable Chair, the honorable member was cleverly smuggling some of the issues. Fine, that's what politicians do. No problem about it, but that is not the matter we're talking about at the moment. We're talking about the possibility of shifting these two places. For the information that it has not been here, well, for the fact that your members have asked the question, they must be knowing something about it, really. You can't say it's the first time when I'm being asked by the very house. It can't be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Mikelakis.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. The report mentioned by the Honourable Kaula is unfortunately not the only one that the country is still waiting to be released. Honourable Chairperson, the President mentioned on two occasions that it is not for the Executive or the President to make such a decision on where Parliament sits. That decision, according to the President, and I agree with him, is a decision for Parliament to make. Parliament has, to date, not yet discussed this matter. However, it does not fall within the jurisdiction of the Executive to make such a decision. It is not the Executive's job. The President, however, has indicated, and he's gone on to indicate, a whole lot of mechanisms that they've put in place, research and reports and all of that, that they have done, feasibility studies and so on, costing the country most probably millions of rands, let alone how much it costs them in terms of time spent by civil servants. That is an act outside of the jurisdiction of the Executive, and should Parliament eventually decide not to move the seat of Parliament from the DA-run municipality of Cape Town to the DA-run municipality of Tshwane, would it then come down to fruitless and wasteful expenditure? Thank you.
Honourable President.
Not at all. It will never be counted as useful, as wasteful expenditure. And what the Executive has done has dealt with what concerns the Executive. The Executive is in charge of the fiscals of this country. Whether you have a parliament, the money must come from the Treasury. The Executive felt it was necessary to investigate how costly this process is. And that's one of the matter that will compel the Executive to do so, to help Parliament to have facts before it so that it can take a well-considered decision. And there is evidence, and no one else could do that except the Treasury, to check whether can't we use our resources better. And you can't say that is outside of the Executive. It's a job of the Executive. So I'm just saying the honorable member is missing the point. The point is clear. We have the information. We have to investigate. At the end, if you are taking a decision as the Parliament that you should move to Pretoria, you'll ask the money from the Executive. And the executive must know whether there will be that money or not. And therefore, the investigation helps you to take a wise decision. It's as simple as that.
The Honorable Nyambi. Order.
Thank you, Chair. It's so unfortunate that when dealing with questions, we don't raise a point of order, but part of our Rule 46 in the House is that we can't deliberately make a statement in the House knowing very well it's false. I can tell members that if you can go to the chairperson's budget vote this year and the speaker, we're discussing this very same issue. So the issue is in Parliament. It's not true that we are hearing it for the first time. I wanted to correct that first. Then my question to you, President, because...
Order.
Yeah, my question to you, President, it's in relation to the form of engagement envisaged by executive, even though we know that the issue is located in Parliament. Don't you have any opinion about that form of engagement? And if possible, if you can try to share the House your opinion about the issue of time frame, because it was resolved in the past that from that research that in the long run, there's definitely going to be cost benefit. But if you are looking at it about the current situation, you might lose the picture of the whole debate. So I'm interested in understanding your opinion around time frame and that type of kind of engagement. Thank you. The issue is in Parliament.
The Honorable the President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Well, it will be very difficult for us to decide for Parliament and even say these are the time frames. I think the research that had been made was shared with the relevant people. And I might say from not necessarily formal discussion or whatever, but we know that the feeling of particularly the presiding officers is that the space here is not enough. It's just one point that I'm aware of. They would want sufficient space. At the moment, they have to use other places because the space is not enough. I think as members of Parliament, you should be saying, here is the matter. When are we discussing and taking a decision? Because the time frames can only be made if there is a decision. Then you know we are now implementing, then what are the time frames? So it will be difficult now to talk about time frames when the matter has not been decided upon. I think as an executive, we're waiting for the decision. What if the decision says, let us go, we are ready, and we can work on the time frames. And as far as we are concerned, given the fact that the economy is a very peculiar thing, the quicker the decision is taken, the better. Because the later is taken to be more costly. Thank you. It's just an advice.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Dabskachne.
Thank you, Mr. President. South Africa is facing very many socioeconomic challenges at the moment, one of which education is a high priority. With the NDP's guidelines on skills development and the need of creating jobs and employment, will you give this House the undertaking that the settling of fees for higher education and basic education will be settled first and will be the first priority before we look at moving Parliament? Thank you.
The Honorable the President.
Hey, I'm not sure about this question. Others will even have some relationship. This one, I'm not very sure. But nevertheless, as I promised that I love interacting with your members, the issue of the free education is being attended to. I'm sure honorable members know that last year when it started, I established a commission which is working on it and has said it will report at a given time. It's important for us because if we are to conclude that issue, it must be based on a very clear and scientific investigation. What is it that we need to do in order to achieve it? In the process of this, because of a protest, I established a ministerial task team to interact with a number of stakeholders, and it has been doing so. And those issues are being dealt with. Necessarily, we needed to find a solution. We cannot find a solution with regard to this matter. And we've raised our views about how the protests have been going. We've really said violence has no place in our democracy. We don't support that. We do support that people have got a right to protest, but that is also outlined in the law, that you should be peaceful, not violent. In a sense, we think that whoever is doing something, it must be something that makes a good sense. For an example, much as you can challenge it, the schools are about to close. People are about to write examination. They'll be opened next year. To intensify your protest now, you are actually not doing just one thing. You are also interrupting the process of education and examination, which then does not give a good sense that education is so important that you can want to delay it when you know the schools will be open only next year. However, we have not failed to deal with this matter. Last year, the protest was there. We're able to say there will be no fees that will rise. Because we take education as a critical point, it is our apex priority. And indeed, we moved. And even now, and you can't also say, this is a demand I make, and I am not going to stop until it is met. In life, you negotiate. You give and take. You consider many things. And as government, we are saying, that's what we've been doing all the time. That's why we're engaging all stakeholders. And we are sure that we'll find a solution. I just hope this is not going to interfere with education that much. I'm happy that people are beginning to say, perhaps writing could be concluded early next year, because it is absolutely important that our young people are educated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to get back to this issue, the Honorable Nyambe, Mr. Kaula, is correct. That Parliament, in our budget speeches, we've raised this matter. So it cannot be true that you are saying that. I do not want to go back to the speeches. You can stand up.
Thanks, Honorable Chairperson. I think the Honorable Chairperson, the Honorable State President, the Honorable Nyambe maybe misunderstood me. I was referring to all the reports that the Honorable President has given to the House, not the matter. The matter itself, as I quoted in my question, arises from the State of the Nation address. But all the other issues that are reports today are news. I mean, it's news.
Thank you. It is not true, Honorable Kaula. I do not like this interaction. Definitely during the Parliament vote 2, both the Speaker and myself sharply raised the issue of costs, of lack of space, of the possibility of looking at a relocation of Parliament to create all of this. And that was Parliament saying that we need to be in charge of this matter. That's all I wanted to make. We have not brought the matter up, President, to Parliament because we ourselves, as Parliament, actually sit in the interministerial, in those committees. Not just sit, we lead as Parliament because it is our business. And when we have a report, honorable members, we'll bring it to Parliament. Honorable President, we move on to question number 5. It is posed by Honorable Engelbrecht.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The reappointment of the South African Airways Board Chairperson was approved by Cabinet, having considered all the relevant factors. The Chairperson works with the collective to achieve the goals set by the shareholder, which is government represented by the Minister of Finance. The SAA is being assisted by government to stabilize. Government is optimistic that the new collective appointed to the board will achieve the necessary turnaround that the company needs, guided by the shareholder, the Minister of Finance. I thank you.
Thank you, President. The Honorable Engelbrecht.
Madam Chair, thank you. Mr. President, during Ms. Dudu's Moyeni's tenure as the SAA chairperson, the airline has stumbled from one crisis to another, even not publishing their annual financial statements, leading to Hong Kong threatening to deregister the airline, which would mean that SAA would no longer fly to Hong Kong. However, in the State of the Nation address this year, you remarked, for state-owned companies to contribute to the successful implementation of the National Development Plan, they must be financially sound and be properly governed and managed. This is clearly not happening with the financial 14 and 15 loss of 5.6 billion. I therefore ask, to what financial extent will you allow SAA to sink in order for it to be auctioned off, as no sensible investor will buy a technically bankrupt company?
Thank you, ma'am. The Honorable, the President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Maybe our view of the company is not necessarily the same. The Honorable Member seems to be looking at the selling the company. He is looking at the value, so that the company must be sold when we can get something out of it. I'm not looking at selling the company. I'm looking at this company getting back to be a company that must be viable and work. Now, SAA has been in trouble all the time. It's not in trouble today. Has been in trouble all the time. If the honorable member pays attention, will remember that at one point we imported an American who was said to be a specialist. He left it as it is. We have changed CEOs, chairpersons for a long time. What we are looking at, how to turn around this company. And we have the board that has been appointed to help turn around the company. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The Honorable Ntebe.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. President, you mentioned in your response that the said appointment was made by the Cabinet. But I want to, as a matter of emphasis, also to say that the Cabinet was not just appointing, but there were strict timelines attached to the said appointments. Would you concede, President, that also in the spirit and the intent of such an appointment, the fiduciary responsibility of the board rests around collective responsibility of the board and not a person, and it is meant to bring the board back to financial sound space, but also to drive the developmental agenda of this country? Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Definitely, I agree with you. That's why the appointment of this board in particular paid attention to specific specialities and skills of members who must therefore help the shareholder to ensure that this company is indeed turned around. And you will recall that because of the problems that have been there all the time, the board had to be appointed so that it can begin to deal with the matters. Because if that decision was not taken by Cabinet, that was one of the matters that the rating agencies would have looked at. And therefore, it was absolutely important that the board itself is sound. It has kind of people that the cabinet was satisfied that those people will be able to do the work that they are needed to do. So I totally agree with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Labuskaghni.
Honourable President, thank you for the answer. I see and I hear that you reverted to the appointment of the board. The question was actually why was the chairperson reappointed for the period of 1 year. In the select committee in the past, since the fifth parliament, we received reports that it's around about the 8th turnaround strategy of SAA. And in your answer today, you also already said that had to be done because they're permanently having problems. My question is, Mr. President, with state guarantees, SAA has to be declared as a going concern. Is the reason for keeping the going concern the appointments of the chairperson as your friends, like in some of the other state-owned companies, or is it really in the interest of the country's economy?
Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The appointment of the board, including its chair, is for the interests of the company. Nothing more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Honorable Makue.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I think it's important for the public to put the record straight that what had in fact happened is that in its report to Parliament that has been given by the Treasury, in the SAA report given to Parliament by the Treasury in September of this year, the SAA for the 2015-2016 financial year indicate a loss of 1.5 billion. That's a major improvement from where we were in 2014-2015. Also, Mr. Musa Zwane, a chief executive officer of the SAA, then explained the reason for the 1.5 million. And he indicated in his report to Parliament that the biggest was actually spent on interest. My question to the chairperson, to the President is, Mr. President, can you assure the public that effective work is being done to ensure that the SAA will, like other SOEs, be turned around? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. There has been a lot of work that has gone into the SAA with the full participation of the Treasury to ensure that the SAA turns around. I can assure you, if, as you indicated, that there has been an improvement financially over the period from very serious, deep kind of financial problems. Fact that you could see, and I think there were reports that were indicating the improvement. I am certain sitting here that the SA is going to do the effective work, particularly with the caliber of the board members that have been elected now or appointed. It is going to work, and we are looking at it very closely. We are more hands-on now as government than before. That's part of the reason that we had moved SAA from its department, and we made it to be under the Treasury, specifically that it should be looked at with the eye of a hawk in terms of using or the usage of the finances. So I am confident that we are going to turn the corner very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Order. Mr. President, we're moving to the 6th question. It is posed by the Honorable Nzimande.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Operation Phakisa is a methodology that helps us to deliver government programs and projects faster and more efficiently. Major milestones are being attained towards achieving the aims of Operation Phakisa. To date, delivery laboratories have been convened focusing on the ocean's economy, creating the ideal clinic in the health sector, promoting the use of information communication technologies in education, enhancing growth in the mining sector, advancing growth in the environmental sector and tourism, as well as advancing growth in agriculture and agro-processing. Since its inception in July 2014, the ocean economy component of Operation Phakisa has unlocked 17 billion rand in both public sector and private sector investments. The components of the ocean economy Phakisa are maritime, transport and manufacturing, offshore oil and gas exploration, aquaculture and marine protection services, and governance, coastal and marine tourism, and small harbors development. With respect to Operation Phakisa in the health sector, a total of 114 primary health care facilities have been transformed into ideal clinics, providing efficient quality health care since implementation commenced in 2015. Our target is that by 2019, a total 2,823 primary health care facilities should be ideal. On education, the aim is to make ICT a primary tool of teaching and learning. Since Operation Phakisa in the basic education sector was launched, an additional 2,430 schools have been connected. The government's vision is for all 24,000 public schools to be connected to the internet. To date, 54% of schools have been connected. A key challenge remains the exorbitant costs of broadening or broadband in our country. However, measures are being implemented to address this. The report from the mining component of Operation Phakisa has been finalized and will be made public once approved by Cabinet in the course of 2016. The implementation of the proposed initiatives will then commence in earnest. A delivery lab on biodiversity was completed in May 2016. The aim of this lab was to enhance the economic potential of South Africa's natural resources. The delivery lab on agriculture, land reform, and rural development is currently underway and will be completed by the end of 2016. Government is firmly on course with the implementation of Operation Phakisa and it has introduced a new way of implementing our programs successfully. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Madam
President.
Chair.
The Honorable Nzimande.
Thank you, Honorable President. The objective of us asking this question was indeed met, because we wanted to get information on progress on Operation Phakisa, in as far as it's being on course in assisting as part of many ways of enhancing our economy. And thank you very much for this comprehensive report that gives the account on what is happening on Operation Phakisa. My small question as a follow-up, Honorable President, through you, Honorable Chairperson, is the alignment of Operation Phakisa to the development plan, because we're having a national development plan, a 9-point plan, whether indeed, Honorable President, it does take cognizance and work in complementary with a national development plan, and not just as a standalone entity and not taking cognizance of what are the outcomes that are contained in the National Development Plan, and indeed the results that are expected out of the nine-point plan. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, sir. The Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Yes, indeed, there is alignment of the Operation Phakisa and the National Development Plan. What Operation Phakisa does was to bring a methodology of our implementation of our policies and programs so that we can deliver quicker. That's a serious element that it brings in. We are, in other words, not creating any new animal. We are saying, how do we move quicker to implement the NDP? And therefore, all the programs that we are engaged in are in line with the projection of implementing the National Development Plan. So they are aligned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Engelbrecht.
Thank you, Chair.
Please identify yourself for the sake of the record, Honorable Member.
It's Member King Sol Chabalala from Gauteng.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Mr. President, scientific data and projections show that South Africa's plans to develop the ocean economy faces a serious threat as a result of ocean acidification. It threatens food security, coastal defenses, tourism and recreational facilities. Furthermore, it threatens biodiversity and projects a decrease in fisheries and productions. It will have a severe impact on small and large fishing companies in South Africa. It would seem acidification is indeed a serious threat to Operation Phakisa and its goals to develop our ocean economy and create jobs. Is the government aware of this threat, and if so, what are the plans in place to deal with acidification in our oceans, if any? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The government is aware of the relationship between the development and preservation of nature. In fact, we are one of the leading countries in that aspect. Some of the existing species have only been saved in South Africa. We are very conscious on this. That's why the ocean economy, at the head of it, is actually led by the Department of Environmental Affairs precisely to deal with that issue. The reality is the economy in the ocean is huge in many ways. We are going to be able to save and preserve things that need to be preserved in the sea and develop the economy and look after our nation and in relation also to interacting with other nations. So that is we are very much aware of. It actually is one of the most uppermost thing that we cannot destroy our nature that we have preserved so long. So whatever we do, we take that into account. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Khayla. Are you on a point of order, Honorable Mikilaikis?
I am, Honourable Chairperson. I'm just slightly concerned. May I request that the House at least consider for the next question session for the Honourable President's own convenience and comfortable, or to make it comfortable for him, that we perhaps organise a box of lozenges or something. He seems very uncomfortable. His throat seems very dry.
Honorable Mikilaikis, that is not order. Honorable Mohapi. Honorable Mikilaikis, that is not a point of order. Honorable Khayla.
Siyabulela Mongameli. Indlela into ibekayo Mongameli. According to your reply, you say you've developed about 54% of the schools in Operation Phakisa, if I am correct. Then you talk of ocean development. Now, the problem I have, President, not getting is development. Abantu basezilalini babeka phina. Basezilalini, the rural people. Because if you go to those rural schools, hospitals, there is no development. Bayafa abantu. If you talk of oceans, uthetha ngento yaseNantsingeni, uthetha nge-Western Cape, ne-Northern Cape, uthini ngelicala lasezilalini? I-ocean yaseMzantsi Afrika iphelele apha kuphela. At what stage will they be developed according to your Operation Phakisa? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The rural areas are not ignored or put aside. The plan is to deal with the whole ocean. The whole ocean, not only the ocean adjacent to urban areas. It's to deal with the entire ocean. We are in fact even looking at expanding small harbors in areas which are not necessarily urban areas. So they are taken into account, including the communities that live along the rural areas. They are part of Operation Phakisa. So be settled with the fact that they are not this time left alone. They are going to be part of it in terms of employment as well as the activities around those areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Honorable Mtimiye.
Ngiyathokoza mqinisilalo sithokoze nakuwe Mangameli. Sithokozela abantu baleya ndawo esabelo yabizwa ukuthi kwaNdebele phambili. Sikubonile uphakisile laphanyana ngendaba yemloto rail nemloto corridor. Into engiba ukuyibawa Mongameli ukuthi sigweme indaba yokuthi abantu banonde batravel to Pretoria all the time. Si develop economy kuleya ndawo. Ungaba nenkinga na njengomongameli ne-executive yakho ukuthi indawo leya ideclare especially economic zone ukuze abantu abakwazi ukuthi bahlomule bathoma amabhizinisi bahlomule la bahlala khona and avoid traveling between the place, the former homeland and Pretoria.
Thank you, sir. The President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. thanks God the question was like that. I thought the honorable member was saying, since we are talking about ocean's economy, can you create an ocean Wandebel? No, thank you very much for the question. I think that is the intention of government with the Moloto corridor. It's not just to open up the corridor in terms of the road and rail, but it's also to make it economically viable. As to the declaration of it as a special zone, that's a matter I think we can raise and talk about. At the moment, we are looking at developing it to be part of the economy, and it could succeed. And I think it will succeed because it's going to say to the people of Moloto area, here you now are accessible to those who can invest, etc. So I think once it is developing, perhaps the declaration of it or special kind of options could be made. I think as people living there, you could have a right to make proposals as well, particularly business people. But certainly, it's going to develop economically. Rest assured. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Honorable members, this concludes our questions. But I want to, before we conclude, Honorable Spambo Shibugwana, the House rules allow for 4 supplementary, not 5. There are a number of members who had raised their hands. At some point, there were 6 members to 1 question, and I had to make the decision to try and spread it across the parties. Where it is not possible, I allow one party to dominate a question, but where possible, I allow other parties to be represented, and that is what has happened, ma'am. Now, honorable members, earlier on as we began our business, the rules of the NCOP were called to order. It is true, Honorable President, that in terms of our rules, you are not obliged to come into this House to answer to questions. We are, however, grateful because my predecessors say that when you became president, you volunteered, and therefore we set a precedence of a president who is willing to come into this House and take questions. I am making this, honorable members, because there is no rule that says it does not mean that the people of the provinces you represent as this House are not interested in the head of state coming into this House and giving account. And therefore, we are very happy, Mr. President, that you availed yourself to come and spend this afternoon taking questions in the NCOP. Honorable members, we must also, as NCOP members and our special delegates, never misdirect ourselves. The rules of this House do permit us to ask members to behave, to ask members to excuse themselves from the House. The rules do permit us to ask you to be removed. I just wanted to correct the impression that, in fact, the NCOP does not have the right or the authority to remove any member. If members want to go and check, you will know that any usher or sergeant at arms in any parliament across the world actually can carry you out physically and throw you out. In other parliaments, they can go and throw you into the cells. So we never misdirect ourselves in this House. We know exactly what we need to do and how we do it. It would be a very sad day if we continue to think that every time we misdirect ourselves, we can run to the courts. So I wanted to say to the President, thank you very much, sir, for coming. Honorable members, this concludes the business of the day. You are requested to remain sitting until the procession has left the house. Standing. This house is adjourned.